Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another installment in our Golf Blitz Tips and Tricks series. Today, we will be looking at a course that is very, very new to this game. I believe it was added just 2 weeks ago, and that is the Tour 15 World Loop. This is a very interesting course, and we're going to break it down so you can have a little bit more success on it. And we'll also talk about a couple of the things not to do since it is a very new course. So if you're excited to hear a little bit more about it, make sure that you leave a like on today's video, and don't forget to subscribe for that daily variety content. So without further ado, let's have a look at the World Loop. So starting off, we've got a hole that does a couple of interesting things. Now, what I personally think is a little bit better is to try and aim this so you can end up bypassing this first little bit of goo, but that's not always possible based off of how it's oriented. But you saw there that played out a little bit better in our favor, and that's generally the idea of what you'll want to try and do, is to sneak around those little pyramids as they rotate with this sticky edge away from you. It's not the end of the world if you do get caught up in it, but you do definitely want to avoid overshooting this putting green, as this portal will shoot you right back to the start, and because it sends you into a jet stream, it's going to take you a little bit of time to reset if you overshoot or get thrown into it by an opponent. So be careful about that. Now, this hole has a little bit of the opposite problem of the previous one, and that is the fact that there's not really a great way to get around a couple of the early game hazards. So what you'll need to do is make your way around, and you're probably going to end up jostling back and forth through those couple of portals. So the quicker you can get up to that point and you won't be bonking around your opponents, the better off you're going to be, especially if there's a couple of grenades or a sawball or something else that's going to mess you up there. All things considered, it's not the worst hole out there. This is probably one of the ones that I don't like as much as some of the others. Now, you'll need to make your way up here onto this little rotating asteroid here, and then hope that you can make your way across this map in a way that lets you get off at the top, just about like that. Now, this portal over here will actually take you through both sides of the putting green, so you'll want to watch out for people who can come hurtling across one way or the other. But the biggest things that you got to watch out for is getting up towards that portion, because there's a lot of zones where you can get bumped back down, and that's just not fun for anyone involved. Here's another hole that can be a lot of fun. Now, it's fairly straightforward. You just got to make your way down into this jet stream, but you'll want to try and do so in such a way that's going to send you up higher like this, because you're going to need to make your way up towards the top and get your way through this portal. Now, I've been spectating a couple of people who played this course when it was brand new, and one thing that you do not want to do is you don't want to use the spider ball to come through that portal. Specifically, you don't want to come back this way with that spider ball, because you will get stuck on the outside of the course, and it's very hard to make your way back in if you do get caught up in that area. So just a word of caution, if you do have access to the spider ball, you want to be very, very, very careful of using it on this course, because you can soft lock yourself and prevent yourself from getting any amount of points. Now, here's another one that can be a lot of fun, particularly towards the end, because at the start you'll want to bonk off of that little section there to get yourself down into the jet stream that will propel you onto the lower portion, or the further portion of this course. And then there's a couple of rotating asteroids here, and you're going to need to make sure that you either have something that can make you come to a dead stop on this putting green, such as the gooey ball or the laser ball, because there is a little bit of a water hazard there against the wall. If not, you're definitely going to want to settle in this little valley here, as opposed to continuing on full force, as you will overshoot and end up in that water hazard if you're not careful. This is one of those holes that is all about timing, and you kind of want to just going to want to make your way down into this jet stream as quickly as you can, because the next point is going to be a little bit trickier. You're going to want to try and make your way onto one of these rotating pads, and hopefully, if you don't misjudge your shot like I just did there, you can end up getting through that portal. And getting onto these rotating platforms can be a bit tricky, but if you time things correctly, you should be able to make your way down through that portal and onto the putting green. And the most difficult part about that is going to be making your way through these portals around the rotating platforms there, because once you make your way down to this lower section, it's very smooth sailing, and you'll want to make sure that you can get the most out of that particular rotation there as quickly as you can. And with this hole, one of the things that you can do, I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but if you line your shot up just right, you can actually get that jet stream to shoot you off right into that little portal that's there. Now we're going to come in a little bit hot with our super ball, and that's going to dump us right here on the top. But you can kind of see what I'm saying there, where this jet stream will line you up directly to go through that red portal and give you an advantage there if you're able to get the timing right off the start, which can be a little difficult based off of the fact that there is quite a ways for your ball to travel as you're attempting to get there. But that is something I felt like mentioning, even though I wasn't able to demo it there, because it is pertinent to the strategy on that hole to get through that portal as quickly as possible. So this is another one that has a lot of those jet streams that you've got to be aware of. This one is probably one of the more relaxed of these types of courses, because there's not as many moving parts to it that you have to take into consideration. The biggest thing that you're going to want to do is be cautious coming through this little portal, because that's really what's going to give you the advantage as you roll down towards the bottom of the course, because if you come through it too harshly, you're going to have to take an additional correction shot to get back around. Whereas if you take the correct angle through it, you can drop down onto this platform and ideally shave one stroke off of that game entirely. And this is another one that gets a little interesting because of the jet streams that are here. Now if you roll all the way down to that, you can end up sticking to this little asteroid. You'll then want to take the next path down here to the bottom, and unfortunately that's where the jet streams end, and you're going to need to take a path up to this hole that's a little bit more direct. And again, like on one of the previous holes we saw, there is a portal right over here on the back end of the green that will shoot you back towards the previous section of the course. So you'll want to be mindful of your opponents as you come into that area, as they will try and sabotage you to push you further back and provide an advantage for themselves. So here's another one we haven't seen just yet. It's not that big a deal. There's just a couple of portals that you'll have to keep in mind as you attempt to make your way through it, and ideally not cheap out and take your way through a portal as you've seen me attempt now twice. Now we're going to wait for this to come down on the downswing, and one of the things that I'm noticing right off the bat is that I kind of wish that these portals had some different color coordination, because this portal on the first platform sends us down here, whereas we've got to make our way up and around into this next section to get through this portal, and if you overshoot, you are going to end up in a little bit of trouble, as you just saw there. And I have no idea why I glanced off the wall when I had that putty ball active, but I'm glad that we did make that decision, because if you come in too hot across that portal, you're going to find yourself in a position where you're rolling past the end. So apart from my blunders there at the start, you now know a little bit more about how that course works and how to make the most of it. Well, I've played through these courses a couple of times, and I hope that I've given you a little bit of some clarity as to how you can succeed on these holes in this tour, and some things to watch out for, and maybe attempt if you're feeling bold or ambitious. But that's all I've got for you today. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure that you drop a like on it. Don't forget to subscribe for the daily variety content, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks so much, and you have an absolutely Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day.